Hello, Governor. Good afternoon. We are very grateful that you are giving us this interview. There's a lot of coverage about your resignation from this Rakhine State Advisory Board. You yourself said you quit it from this on your own will, and then the next day the government said they terminated your services. Can you tell us what happened?
Yes, I quit, and that's a poor excuse. They were begging me to stay. I've been on the board for 2 months. Aung San Suu Kyi appointed me. I've invested a lot in Myanmar, but I quit. And obviously, they need to save face. But the National Security Advisor, the night before I quit, was begging me to stay. So that should not be an issue.
And the government spokesman said you overstepped your mandate by asking about the case of the Reuters reporters.
That's false. The mandate of the commission is to implement the Kofi Annan recommendations that call for freedom of the press, the ability of the press to look into human rights abuses in this Rakhine area. And those journalists discovered the mass graves, and they've been unfairly treated. And it was my view that the government should treat them fairly and find a way to release them. This was a bad message to the international community. Freedom of the press is a bedrock for democracy. Yes, I did raise it, and Aung San Suu Kyi got very upset that I did that, even after 30 years that I've had a friendship with her.
Yes, you have known her for many years, and you have supported her all along since the house arrest. And so, regarding this events in Rakhine State, the United Nations has described the events as ethnic cleansing. So, what is your personal view? Do you think it is ethnic cleansing?
Well, it's certainly very bad treatment of human beings. I believe that massive human rights violations, atrocities, rapes, individuals even put in mass graves. I think the military is responsible for that, the Myanmar military. And I think Aung San Suu Kyi has failed to exercise moral leadership by saying to the military, even though they have separate powers, you can't do this. This is wrong. Let's clean this up. So I won't use those words because they're very strong, but I support the United Nations finding a way to investigate the situation and UN agencies helping those refugees have safe passage, citizenship, and protection from human rights abuses.
Right now, the Myanmar government and the Bangladeshi government are carrying out this repatriation plan. What do you think of it? Do you think it will work well?
Well, no, it's not working well. And the Bangladesh government has postponed the repatriation. They did it 2 days ago. That makes sense to me. There's no safe passage guarantee. There's no safety guaranteed for refugees going from Bangladesh to Myanmar. There are human rights violations. There's rapes. There's not enough food. They don't know if they can go back to their homes and have jobs. So they're staying in Bangladesh. I think the United Nations, the international community, has to help Myanmar and Bangladesh ensure the safety of these refugees. There could be as many as 1 million. You just see these pictures of these human beings in terrible conditions.
And now about this advisory board, of which you were a member earlier, do you think this advisory board could give fair and realistic recommendations?
Well, it remains to be seen, but I think the advisory board was a whitewashing cheerleading squad. The chairman said, we're only going to meet twice now at the end of the year. How can you make sensible recommendations? And then they didn't want to hear frank advice. The advisory board met with Aung San Suu Kyi without me. They excluded me because they know I give frank advice. I don't believe the prospects are good for the advisory commission because I don't think they're serious. I think the government, Aung San Suu Kyi and the chairman said it to validate the government policy. And so far, government policy on the refugees on the Rakhine State has been weak, has not been good.
So what do you think should be done?
I believe, one, the United Nations, the international community should not turn their back on Myanmar. They should participate in this repatriation. There should be a full investigation of the mass grave situation. I think those journalists need to be released. But most importantly, the people of the Rakhine State, the Muslims there, those that have been displaced, distressed, violated, they need to be brought in and made a path to citizenship.
Okay.
They're human, and they need to be part of the solution, not just victims as they are now.
One last question. Burma is said to be on the road to democracy. And what is your view on the progress? Do you think the government is on the right track?
No, it's not on the right track because the military dominates the human rights issues, the refugee issue. Aung San Suu Kyi and the military should reach an understanding of making sure the refugees are treated properly, that there's proper accountability, that the international community is brought in, the United States, Canada, the European Union, ASEAN countries, that there should be a full United Nations and international community, World Bank participation in rebuilding the refugee situation in a positive way, and giving the people of Myanmar and the Rohingyas a chance to coexist and lead decent lives.
Thank you very much for your time, Governor.
All right, thank you.
Thank you again.